Back. The family of an 18-year-old Brakpan pupil who was stabbed to death outside Geluksdal Secondary School on Thursday is blaming the school and police for their son's death. Sean Mpela was stabbed after a fight broke out at the school on Thursday. Chaos broke out this morning when angry parents and pupils stormed the school demanding answers. They say racial tensions are behind the killing. Gauteng Education MEC Matome Chiloane visited the school earlier. He joins me now for more. Thank you very much, MEC, for your time this evening. So firstly, I want to address the history that the parents have raised. They said that over the past year they have gone to the school numerous times to report that Sean had been bullied specifically by this group of learners who ultimately stabbed and killed him. They say they also wrote letters to the department. Can you confirm whether you're aware of that history of bullying?
Good evening, good evening to your viewers. Obviously, that information came to my attention today, unfortunately, and obviously I had to check with the district, but however, the school governing body leadership did confirm that there has been such incidences and they've been happening for quite a while. So to the attention of myself as the MEC, it was today, and really I'm really saddened about it, because I do feel and I do share the sentiment of the parent that this could have been avoided had the necessary action been taken. But however, the parent also took the blame squarely on the doorstep of the police that he opened the case numerous times, and all the time nothing has really happened. And those are some of the things that we are going to be taking up a discussion with the law enforcement agencies, that they really need to come on board and help us. As parents come and lay a complaint, please act on it, because if you delay this is what it leads to. And yeah, so we are going to have proper engagement and really increase the support for each other between ourselves and law enforcement agencies to ensure that we keep our schools safe, especially in areas that are hotspots.
And we know that cooperation is vitally important, but surely as MEC you also have to look first to within your own department, because this history points at a failure not only from the school governing body in addressing the issues, but if there had been history noted with the school governing body and then escalated to the district, there are failings within the department which ultimately have cost this boy his life. And I'm sure it must have been very difficult for yourself facing his parents today, knowing that their son lost his life on your department's watch.
No, it is, and that's why the first thing that's going to happen, we'll be bringing some serious changes into the school, especially at the critical areas of leadership and etc. So we will be going into the school to ensure that we really strengthen. But however, we must also be able to take note the role that is played by parents, because these are the key stakeholders who really are supposed to be at the center of disciplining their own children. You know, I allowed a space today at the school for learners to speak, and the learners were very clear and say, but the parents also do contribute to what has been happening in the school, and that's also one area that we will be engaging on, to speak to the parent body to come on board, to really begin to play a progressive active role, because the learners did accuse that some parents are fueling this particular hatred amongst these learners. So it's multi-pronged. So everybody needs to come on board. But what you should understand about a school, that schools are receptors of the immediate community, and the state of the immediate community will be reflected into the school life, and that's what we've seen in Geluksdal.
And I'm sure that what you're alluding to is the necessity for further engagements with law enforcement, with community leaders, to ensure that, as you say, the social tensions within the community do not spill over into the school environment. However, the school environment is to some degree, while it is influenced by the macrocosm of society, a controlled environment where teachers and leadership at the school should be allowed to exercise some level of control over that immediate environment. And I want to talk about a point raised by one of the learners who spoke to eNCA and no doubt who interacted with you as well during your visit today. And this learner and the parents also pointed out that Sean was stabbed and no one did anything to take him to hospital, that he died before an intervention was taken to get him medical help. And one of the concerns raised was that teachers said, well, they're afraid of losing their jobs, and that's why not one of them offered to take this learner to the hospital, which was apparently close by. Can you talk to us about the responsibilities and the restrictions in this kind of a situation on what teachers can and should do when a life is at stake?
Yeah, no, I was also as shocked as you are. I mean, this is not even a legal matter. It's a human matter. You know, it's a humanitarian matter. When you see somebody being injured, Ubuntu says that you should be there to help that person, irrespective, not even a learner. You know, and this is what we really need to go back to inculcate in our communities, that Ubuntu, you know, we need to start taking care of each other, protecting each other. And the fact that teachers didn't do anything, it's something else. Obviously, there's no legal obligation that I can have to force them to do that. But I would have expected that as an educator, because as an educator, you are a parent to that child. You know, you are a mentor, you are everything to that child when the parent hands over the child to you at the school. And like any other parent, you should have. So that's something that we need to look to as well as ourselves as a society, that what is happening to those values of Ubuntu that has really brought us to this point where we are afraid of helping each other. And unfortunately, this is the first situation. There was a similar incident in late last year, if you remember, in Flakfontein. The same situation happened where the learner, it took long for paramedics to arrive, and the teachers were not moving to assist that child, to take that child to the clinic or hospital, and unfortunately we lost it. So those are just humane values. They've got nothing to do with the legal imperatives.
At the same time, we've also got to look, you said earlier, it's a multi-pronged approach to solving these situations, and we have to acknowledge that these situations are very complex and multifaceted. We know that the school is also, unfortunately, prone to overcrowding. There's approximately 80 learners in a class. So if you look at the kind of situations that teachers often find themselves in, they are often victims of violence and intimidation themselves, especially in situations where they have to try and exercise some measure of control over that many learners in one space. So let's not just heap all the blame on teachers. That's not my intention. But in talking about teachers, the leadership of the school, the community, the different roles played by all of these different role players, one has to also address the allegations of racial tension, and that's behind this stabbing incident. What can you tell us about the racial tensions at Geluksdal Secondary School and your knowledge of interventions to try and solve that?
Firstly, let me address the infrastructure issue. I think, obviously, some of the community members were speaking and they were really, they're lying. I have to speak. There is no class with 80 learners. That's number one. Number two, we have invested a lot in that school. Last year, we've invested over 10 new classrooms. This year, we've given them extra money to build an additional 8 classrooms to deal with overcrowding. And truthfully, it's not enough, but there is some level of work that we've been doing. And also, we've picked up that at the center of all this is because of some of the money that we put into schools, that some community members begin to interfere trying to access these particular resources that we've given to schools. This was number one. So there is no class of 80 learners. We have invested a lot in infrastructure work in terms of building additional classrooms. But obviously, because those are some of the old schools, they have certain defects and we're looking into fixing them. And obviously, from Monday, there will be some work being done to actually fix some of the areas of that of concern infrastructure-wise. Now, with regard to racial tensions, it's quite sad that this year, after so many years into our democratic dispensation, we're still dealing with racism and in our communities in their form. And when you look into that community, it's really not about Black Africans or colors. There is an underlying issues, and that is the state of the community itself, the socio-economic state itself. That is what we need to address. And I spoke to some of the parents, and they said amongst them is the substance abuse, drugs. There's an issue, a problem of drugs, and they are infiltrating into our schools, and that's where some of the problems that we have. So it's not necessarily that colored children and Black children can't live. No, they are playing together. They are together. In fact, when I was speaking to those learners, they were very clear that it's not necessarily racism. We can't say we can't live together. We are polarized in color. No, we don't have a problem, but the problem is external and it's finding its way into the school. And that's because of the immediate community, the challenge, the socio-economic situation in the immediate community that arises of certain interest into what the school has. And also there are other ulterior interests out of that school. So this it's quite complex. However, we are going to do one thing. First of all, we are going to secure our school, definitely. We are not going to negotiate. It's a non-negotiable. Meaning, amongst other things, we're going to improve the security into our school. We're going to have search and seizure, because some learners raised an issue of concern that there were learners with weapons and they did sensitize teachers, and which you have spoken to correctly so. Some teachers are scared. Some teachers, you can't blame them. You're a teacher there, and here's a learner carrying a dangerous weapon. You also think that, hey, what will happen if I tamper with this child? What if they stab me? What if they shoot me if they're carrying a gun? That's an extreme situation. So the teachers do find themselves in such a situation as well. But however, what we'll say to those educators is that rest assured, we on our part at the higher level will ensure that your safety and learners is paramount, and we need to work collaboratively. If a learner reports, if you can't do anything, you bring it to their attention. We'll bring police to really search that learner and find the weapon. And if it's a dangerous weapon, where in some instances we find children were carrying guns, we get them arrested. They will explain to us who gave them this weapon. Actually, with such an intervention, in some incident that happened in Ekurhuleni South, we found a learner with a gun. They searched, they found the learner, and we were able to trace that gun to the person who gave the child the learner, and that gun was used in a robbery in a murder case, and the perpetrator was arrested. Stakeholders, learners, educators, school leaders.
MEC, unfortunately, we are losing your signal. We are going to have to leave it there, but certainly good news that out of such a tragic incident, school security is in the spotlight, and the department is actively working towards securing Gauteng's schools. That was Education MEC Matome Chiloane speaking to us about the sad passing of learner Sean Mpewa at Geluksdal Secondary School yesterday.